Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks Sunday. Stream of consciousness. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Everybody's Irish today, I guess. I don't wear green. I'm not a big, I don't know. You know, have I partaked in St. Patrick's Day in my life? Absolutely. Not much anymore. But happy St. Patrick's Day, and to all you who are going to participate. For those of you that are Irish, a special St. Patrick's Day wish for you. And welcome in, everybody. Lots to talk about today. It's your show, Drive the Ship, but we'll give you some starter topics to talk about here in a second. Lots to talk about in the NCAA, NFL, Major League Baseball. Maybe we can talk women's basketball if we want. I've got a women's bracket up, which we'll talk about in a second. Just to get started, I want to welcome everybody from who's watching on TGI Sports Talk this morning, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or the Roku channel on the Northeast Streaming Sports channel on Roku. Get out there and download that. You can also watch us on Northeast Streaming Sports, Facebook and YouTube feeds. And also Let's Talk Sports on their YouTube feed this morning. Guys, check out and follow not only TGI Sports Talk, but all of those other channels that I talk about. Let's Talk Sports, Northeast Streaming Sports, lots of great content all day, all night long. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media, who, and specifically the Sports Corner, he does with Spunk and Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 8 to 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be on there on the 26th of this month. Excuse me. Gosh. And Ralph pops in this show too as well. So make sure you check that out. That's on radio. And I believe he shares the show on Facebook as well. But on radio, it's on WBVP 1230 AM 99.3 FM. And also a quick shout out to John Gonzalez. We're trying to get every week a shout out to some of the groups. I was doing it for a while and I got away from it, so I apologize. Quick shout out to John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Great stuff over there, so check that out. Oh, anyway, we've got so much to talk about, man. Check out on TGI Sports Talk or on my personal page, and I'll share it in the chat here in a little bit. The links are there for a men's bracket and a women's bracket for the NCAA tournament. And as we try to prime you guys a little bit, lots to talk about in the NCAA tournament if you want to do that. We had some bid stealers yesterday in Oregon, NC State, probably New Mexico, Temple, and UAB are meeting in the final of the American Conference. They probably stole a bid. And that really impacts teams like St. John's. So Friday night, I thought they were in after a close loss to UConn. Pittsburgh, Virginia, Indiana State, all were probably in yesterday morning. They're all probably out right now. We'll see what happens today. We'll get into some of those scores if we should go down that road. And by the way, with St. John's being out, and by the way, Seton Hall out too, 13-7 in the league. St. John's 11-9, I believe, and teams like Mississippi State are in at 8-10. Oklahoma may be in at 8-10 in their leagues. Come on, guys, just stop. But Long Beach State gets into, didn't steal a bid, but Long Beach State fired their coach 5 days ago, Dan Monson, who, by the way, started the whole Gonzaga trek to the top of the basketball charts. You know, Mark Few was not the original. He was assistant for Dan Monson. He got them to the Elite Eight his last year there and went on to supposedly greener fields at Minnesota. Didn't work out for him. But we'll talk about all of that. UConn probably the number one seed right now. We can talk about the seeds. I believe it's pretty simple who the seeds are there. UConn, number one seed, I think. Purdue, Houston, who got demolished yesterday. And all these teams are losing. The only team, UConn's the only power conference anyway, where the number one seed won. Iowa State demolished Houston. And I've been bashing Iowa State, so we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong there. NFL, we got free agency to talk about if we like. We've got trades. Justin Fields traded for just a 6-rounder to Pittsburgh. Rumors about a Patriots-Minnesota trade, which we can get into. So we can talk about the draft. We can talk about free agency, rumored trades. We got Wilson going to Pittsburgh. So you got Wilson and Fields there. I like Fields. I think the Wilson move might be a reach, but we'll talk more about that. Aaron Rodgers, of course, running for vice president potentially with Robert Kennedy Jr. You can't make this stuff up, man. Oh, my God. Major League Baseball, we got injuries to Alex Cole, Aaron Judge. Yankees already in trouble. We're going to Seoul here this week on the 20th. We're playing too early. We're going to play real games. We do this every year, it seems now. We go to Asia or Europe, and we'll go to Europe, I think, during the season. But we go to Asia, and then we come back and play more exhibition games. It just makes no sense to me. What else? Marmol gets an extension. Oh, managers on the hot seat. NBA, Knicks back. Anunoby back and really turn the Knicks fortunes around again as they're on a 3-game winning streak. Just a couple games out of second place in the East. So lots to talk about. Let's see who's with us, and we'll get into some comments and let you guys run away. Dave Gayette up in Amsterdam. Good morning, Dave. How are you? Got to come up that way today. For any of my Amsterdam people, I think we're going to stop to Creekside for a few adult beverages this afternoon, as I've got a free afternoon to take a little ride and haven't been up in a couple of months. CA. CA joins us early this morning. Good morning out there in the mid-southwest to you. Congrats for making on this morning. What'd I do? I was in bed at 10 o'clock last night, man. I don't know. Drew, we were out yesterday celebrating my mother-in-law's birthday, a little late, but we had a nice party. Lots of fun over to Wheatfields. We'll give them a little shout out this morning. Good morning, Anthony Price. Good to have you with us. The Steelers thing, really, first of all, and I'll come back to that in a second. Actually, I'll make a quick comment first before I go on to some more good mornings and whatnot. First, they bring in Russell Wilson. Then they cut Kenny Pickett, basically because of his bad attitude about the trade when they told him he was not going to be able to compete for the job. Put that on top of the fact that he refused to dress as the emergency quarterback for their last game last year. And I can do math, even though I went to Perth, I can do math pretty well. This guy's a problem. I want him off my roster. First of all, you're not talented enough, Kenny Pickett. Sorry. Is that his name? Am I saying his name? It is Kenny, right? What? Who's the Pickett? Never mind. Was in a band. Had a band. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Drew's got me all nervous now because he talks about my malaprops. A very sensitive person, as you know. Anyway, he's a problem, and you're not good enough to be a problem. They trade him. First of all, they trade him. I forget what they got for him. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Actually, they paid more for him than they eventually paid for Justin Fields, who they trade for here this weekend, a 6th-round pick that could become a 4th-round pick. Why the Patriots and why other teams are not grabbing Justin Fields, who has progressed very well the last 2 years, had some injury issues, had some coaching issues early in his career. Why they gave Nagy the keys to this kid is amazing to me originally. And Justin Fields might end up a starter there this year because I'm not sure Russell Wilson's got anything left in the tank. His numbers weren't bad last year, but when you watched him play, the eye test says there's a problem here. You can't play. He's not quick enough to play just this open game. He doesn't play well within a restricted offense, if you will. The wording is escaping me. Play within the confines of a strict, focused offense. Good morning. I did get a message from Mark last night that he saw you and sent me a picture of you, Rick. So, Rick Sherlock at the boxing matches. I'm not sure where that was. It was the War at the Door. Was that the Armory or someplace? I'm not sure, Rick, if that was at the Albany Armory or where it was. But I did get a picture of you yesterday, and I'll see Mark later today. Steve Orpello, good morning, Orpy. How are you? Good to have you with us as always. Hope you're doing well. Anthony says Bears trade Justin Fields for a 99-cent Arizona and a Wendy's bowl of chili. Basically, now if this turns into a fourth-round pick, fine. I guess that's not terrible. But I think the Bears, first of all, I think totally screwed us up. They thought they overvalued Justin Fields, who, again, I think will become a decent NFL quarterback. He's on his way to getting there. A little more accuracy and a little bit better coaching, and I think he'll be good. I don't think he's going to learn from Russell Wilson a lot, by the way, because Russell Wilson's become a diva. What are you going to learn about being an NFL quarterback other than demanding your own office? But right now, you're right. This is basically 99-cent Arizona and Wendy's bowl of chili. But I think, again, 6th-round draft pick, if they'd waited, so they overvalued him early, they make the trade now. If they waited until draft day, around the draft day, or when teams who need quarterbacks can't get them in the draft, you probably would have done better. But they were looking at 1st-round draft picks early on. That was never going to happen. 8:30. Keith coming on before the morning milk. Chris F. Grave, our Canadian correspondent up there. Welcome, Chris. Good to have you with us this morning. What are the thoughts on the Pirates very quietly putting little pieces together? Michael Taylor, nice little move there. Domingo Germán, I won't talk about because we have to skip the off-the-field stuff. I thought he was on the right path before, Chris. I can't talk about Domingo Germán without talking about the issues off the field. He was arrested for domestic violence in his home country a few years ago. I said then the Yankees should have cut him right then and there. I don't want that stuff on my team. And then some other issues last year. So that's all I'll say about that. To me, I hope he's on the right path for his own sake and his family's sake. But the proof is in the pudding. We thought he was on the right track with the Yankees, and it turned out he was not. Pickett apparently has no charge. Good. Drew's get the puns rolling this morning early. Yeah, Pickett. Some of these guys kill me. Why? Because you were a 1st-round draft pick a couple of years ago. You think you've got some juice and can demand what you want, and you can pout and say, I'm not going to dress as an emergency quarterback, and I'm not going to stay on this team. I'm not coming to camp if I'm not competing. There's a reason they don't want you to compete with a Russell Wilson who's basically pretty used up. Again, you look at Russell Wilson's numbers, because somebody's going to throw that at me this morning. I know they are. You look at Russell Wilson's numbers, and they're really not too bad. But last year especially, they bounced back nicely. Did you watch him play any games? Because when I watched him, I saw an old, used-up quarterback who can't play within a structured, there's the word I was looking for, a structured system, kind of refuses to throw the ball over the middle, and holds the ball way too long. Alan Perales. By the way, you lost another very good player in Dallas to the Jets in the lineman. What the hell's his name? Escaping me. I didn't make a note on this guy. Let me pull up my Jets notes here. Hold on. Who was it? Taylor? Of course you don't put it in the headline, do you? Oh, Tyrone Smith. My bad. 2-time Pro Bowler. Jets are making tiny little strides. Anyway, Al's talking about most NFL people feel he's no better than Sam Darnold. Justin Fields is already better in his first 2 years than Sam Darnold ever was, or Drew Lock. I see you're finding it hilarious. You're right. to compare him to he's better than those two players were already. He's still got some growing to do. But his last 2 years were better than any year Sam Darnold or Drew Lock ever put out there. And good morning, Alan. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Again, happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you guys. Guys, get over to the TGI Sports Talk page or my page and get in the men's bracket challenge and the women's bracket challenge. I'm going to put it in the notes or the comments here in a little bit. I just want to get caught up because once I do, it puts it up like 6 times. We'll have some fun with that. What's CA got here? I can't click on you. Why? That's on. I watched it. I told you last week I watched it. Lee Marvin, Charles Bronson, classic, 70s fair. I love those old movies. I'll watch it again. Good morning, Kenny Gifford up there on the mountain. Dak. Speaking of off the field issues, and maybe Alan will have some insight. I'm sure he'll defend him. Here's the thing. Dak Prescott has been only accused, no charges, accused of some sexual misconduct back, I believe, in 2017. We'll see how it plays out. Am I going to rip Dak for that? Not yet. And again, am I being a hypocrite because I ripped the rapist? What do we call him, Drew? I forgot again. The massage. Not the massage molester. The massage molester? Is that what we call them? Because there's one charge against Dak Prescott. One charge, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt until I know more. Because we saw with Kobe Bryant, we've seen with others, one thing doesn't necessarily mean you're a total deviant. When you have 66 people or more, or I should say at least 30 some, probably up to 6 people accuse you, my guess is there's something happened. That's the difference there. And Dak, I'm not going to defend or bash him. But again, this is clear with the NFL. We don't have a bunch of model citizens playing in the NFL. And as Mark Robertshaw has pointed out, will probably be on my tombstone. You do what you want. Murder people, rape women, do whatever you want. Abuse drugs, but don't let the air out of a football. Just saying. Probably got to cover my window. I'm going to get that little bleed through now. Wilson will help Pickett grow. Ken, you really think so, Kenny? Why do we think Russell Wilson is a guy that we should use to help? Well, by the way, he's not going to help Pickett grow into anything because Pickett's now on the Eagles. He got traded. So if you meant Fields, I'll comment on that. Listen, not that close to the Wilson situation, other than the things I know he had put in his contract when he went to Denver about needing. He didn't even dress with the rest of the team. He had all these special privileges. This is a guy you want to mentor a young quarterback? Come on. I'm not even sure he can play anymore. Justin Fields might be the starter there next year before it's all said and done. Steelers just turned one of the worst quarterback rooms into one of the better ones in the league. Again, why am I missing that Russell Wilson, who Denver was willing to eat tens of millions of dollars just to get him out of the building, why do I think he's going to turn that quarterback room around? Now, I know it's bad to begin with. So I guess one of the better ones in the league is a bit of a reach, I think, Alan. You want to say it was better than last year? That's an easy no-brainer. But Justin Fields, I'm going to tell you what. Justin Fields is probably a better quarterback than Russell Wilson today. That's just my take. Chris, I refer to the Oakland A's scenario, the final days of Pompeii. I could see that team having some fun this year with the core coming along and some veterans insertions, like playing with your hair down over there. Yeah, and you're going to do it in front of nobody because who's going to go? And again, Oakland fans, this is partly on you. I've said this over the years. You didn't support that team. I know it was bad, and ownership often has had bad teams there. But when you had good teams, you didn't support them. In the 70s, when you had a dynasty, you were one of the lowest drawing teams in the league. And in past years where, Moneyball was in place, you didn't support the team, which is not going to give the city or ownership or anybody a lot of confidence in building a new stadium, which they desperately needed for decades. So Oakland fans, you deserve what you got. Sorry. I'm not a big fan of teams moving, but if you're not going to support your team, I'm talking to you too, Tampa Bay Rays fans. Then don't be surprised when you lose them. That said, I expect them to have a record low attendance this year. And next year, I think it's 2 years before they leave. Maybe that'll help the players. There's nobody there. There's no pressure. Maybe Chris is right. Maybe they can let their hair down, to use his phrase, and actually do some damage. Oh, you did. That's right. I forgot. That dark craze. I'm still finishing my bagel. Sorry. Anyway. Tyron is injury prone. Love what he did for us. Surefire Hall of Famer, Pro Bowler. Injury prone, as Aaron Allen says. But he has trouble staying on the field lately. Dallas has got some issues probably with salary cap. There you go. Borderline cap hell right now. And a lot of her best contract. Yeah, I get it. You got to make decisions. My point is more for the Jets. I do think the risk with the injury to get a player of his talent with where the Jets are, again, the window's open, but it's not going to be open long. So anyway, I was speaking more from the Jets perspective, I guess, than the Cowboys. Cowboys lost some. Cowboys have done nothing in free agency. It's going to be interesting what they do in the draft. Because to me, as I said before, and good morning, Ralph Williams. Good to have you with us again. RW Media, check Ralph out. Does a lot of great stuff. As I said at the top, and check out the Sports Corner Tuesdays from 4 to 6 Eastern time. And I will be there at 5 o'clock on the 26th. Some of these teams, I can't really judge. We're talking about free agency a little bit, and we will continue to do that. We'll lead up to the draft. To me, I can't judge free agency until after the draft. For the most part, I can make some comments, and some are very obvious things. But to really judge a team's performance in free agency or the draft, I need to put them together and see what that offseason looked like. That's just me. We'll get Ralph's perspective, I'm sure, in this Pittsburgh situation here in a second, and then I can reiterate mine if you like. And it looks like the Panthers are out now of the NCAA tournament, Ralph. Need to wait for all the information coming in and avoid jumping to conclusions. Oh, excuse me, I got the hiccups now. Let's try to get rid of those. Rick brings up a great case, a great point, as with the Azaria, I think his name is, I'm probably saying it wrong, the great punter from San Diego State, who was a fairly early draft pick for the Bills 3 years ago, if you remember. Then he was accused of participating in basically a gang rape of a co-ed, and it turned out he wasn't even at that party. So where do I go to get my reputation back, right? I don't. Again, in all fairness, I very well may have ripped this kid, and I shouldn't have until all the facts are in. Or maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I said we need to wait, and then when the facts came in, I know I ripped everybody, because you need to. Where do you go to get your reputation back? Once you're accused of something like that, even if you're found not guilty, and in his case, he wasn't even there, certain people are still going to believe it and believe, because we believe conspiracy nonsense that it was covered up and whatnot. So in Dak's case, I am going to reserve judgment until I hear more information, unless, 40 more people come forward. And if they do, then just like the massage molester, help me out, Drew. I know you probably gave me the name here somewhere. Oh, but Rick, you got a great point and a great example of why we shouldn't do that. And for the times I have rushed to judgment, then I apologize. I hope I don't do it again. Ralph has someone who covers the Broncos on his radio show Tuesday, and he'll find out. So very good. Let's pay attention to Ralph's radio show. Those who are interested in this Russell Wilson situation. Again, I feel he's a bit of a diva, and I believe his skill set is diminished. I watched him play, I don't know, 4 or 5 games last year. The numbers always seem to be there. You look at his compilation of numbers, and they look good. You watch him play, and you see a lot of plays that are busted. And you wonder why Sean Payton is out there screaming and yelling at him and threatening to cut him during the year last year. He won't throw over the middle. He holds the ball too long, and he can't keep plays alive the way that he used to because he doesn't have the athleticism that he had. And again, I'm not saying he was a great player. Great player. But I think some things went to his head a little bit, and I don't know that he's a great guy I want mentoring. I love Justin Fields. For a 6th-round draft pick that could be a 4th, I want the Patriots in on this. How am I not in on this? I think a lot of teams in the NFL are going to be upset they weren't in on this later on. Ralph, you can comment on what you think about your team, the Steelers, bringing in not just Russell Wilson. I know you want to get some more information from your Denver contact, but your opinion on the Fields trade. I think Justin Fields has the chance with the right coaching. And when Nagy was a coach, they should never have given Nagy the keys to this guy. He got off to a rough start in the NFL because of the poor coaching he got his first year or two. Drew, DJ Moore gets to figure out yet another quarterback. By the way, yes, big trade, a big move in Keenan Allen going to the Bears, Calvin Ridley going to Tennessee, Jimmy Garoppolo going to, oh gosh, I forgot where Jimmy Garoppolo signed. I don't remember. Gallup got released. Don't know if he got picked up anywhere. Aaron Donald retires. Caught little people. I was caught by surprise. I know I read a couple articles where people weren't caught by surprise because they never thought Aaron Donald was going to play, 20 years in this league, the way interior linemen sometimes can. And surefire Hall of Famer in my mind. Is there anybody who doubts that? I mean, again, we can't. When you look at interior linemen, as Rick knows with Marshall from the Vikings, you can't just look at numbers because they don't necessarily tell the story for a defensive tackle, right? They're not going to get the sacks usually. Aaron Donald got his share. Who else has we got here? Michael Gallup. I'm not sure if he signed. I know he was released. Mike Vrabel joins the Browns staff as a consultant. A little surprised because if I'm Kevin Stefanski, even though I'm a 2-time coach of the year, NFL coach of the year, I bring a threat to my job security into the building. So I'm a little surprised at that. Not sure what their relationship might be. And the running back carousel, yes. Running backs have been signing all over the place. Saquon, I mean, it's another great point. We debated some of this. Does Saquon Barkley fix the Eagles' offensive problems? I think it helps. And then you've got Derrick Henry going to Baltimore, which to me, I think is more impactful than Saquon in a way. I guess we'll see how that turns out. But a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of great stuff going on in the NFL. Any of these individual situations you want to chat about, we can. I'm not sure I can't remember where Garoppolo ended up. I should just bring up I got my tracker here. I should just bring it up. And don't forget the NCAA tournament, man. Lots of madness in March already. Let me get to some more comments here. Oakland, yeah. You got to support your teams. And again, I'm looking directly at you, Tampa Bay. You've had a great team there for quite some time. You better start supporting them or you're going to lose them. There's a lot of cities in this country, starting with Nashville, that are looking for Major League Baseball franchises. Vegas is already filled, obviously. Nashville comes to mind as a top contender. They want baseball back in Montreal. Now, that didn't work out the first time, but again, bad stadium, bad ownership. It could turn around. Remember what happened in Seattle. Allen, if nothing has been filed, I'm more inclined to believe Dak. I'm not inclined to believe or disbelieve anybody at this point. When it's one instance, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Just because of what I've heard, what he's seen from him since he got to Dallas. Well, there's probably a lot of people in Houston that would tell you that about Watson. I said I'd never say this guy's name. But again, I don't want to compare the two. I really don't, because 60 cases is different than one. Never had an issue off the field and what I've seen. And I agree with that. Never, and for what I've seen, always been in a positive limelight until you hear different, or he hears different. Then that's where you stand. I'm kind of in the same place. I mean, I'm not going to, do I believe him? Yeah, I guess you have to use the word believe. Benefit of the doubt works better for me. Because there's been situations where I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, Ray Lewis didn't have the best reputation necessarily, but there was nothing to indicate he'd be involved in a double homicide. Oh, but we were certainly willing to listen to Ray Lewis's talk that Tom Brady should be a double murderer involved in a double homicide. I had to listen to networks put the mic on him and tell me that Tom Brady should be suspended for life, basically, for tampering with footballs. Don't let the air out of a football, guys. Again, if you want to continue your NFL career, go out and beat up women and murder people, and do drugs, do all that stuff. Don't let the air out of a football, though. Kenny, my bad. Pickett will be a good backup to Hurts and eventually take the job from him. Kenny Pickett to me I don't see anything to warrant Kenny Pickett, and maybe Ralph Williams can weigh in on Kenny. He watched him play. Kelly, what's his name? Kenny Pickett. Jesus. Can weigh in on Kenny Pickett. I've seen nothing. Again, could be a coaching situation, could be a bad fit. I don't see how he fits that Eagles offense any better, though. Justin Fields would have fit there better than Kenny Pickett. 2026 Joke Land starts in Vegas for the A's. You got yourselves to blame there, Oakland fans. Had to cut Gallup and LVA just to get back over the cap. That's under the cap, I believe, but I know what you mean. How do you get that close to the cap when they raised it $36 million? Got to manage the cap better. You need people. I think you need people, and that's one of the problems. I've said this for a long time. They bring talent into Dallas, but they don't seem to be able to manage the cap correctly. They end up losing good players where they shouldn't. And you need capologists or whatever you want to call them. Patriots always had them. I'm so worried that the Patriots are going down the Cowboys path. I mean, Jonathan, excuse me, Jonathan Kraft is really the de facto general manager there right now. That's not a good situation. We see how it works in Dallas. You want to win lots of regular season games? Great. I want to win Super Bowls. Sad about the Panthers, but Duquesne plays the A-10. Could steal a bid. I talked about bids getting stolen yesterday, Ralph. And Pittsburgh, St. John's, Virginia. Look, for me, for Pittsburgh to be out, what's Pittsburgh's? Let me check on something here before I say something stupid. Again, Pittsburgh, 12-8 in the ACC. 12-8 in the ACC, 22-11 overall. Pittsburgh's out. Seton Hall's out, 13-7 in a good Big East. St. John's 11-9 off, and a great run. Gave Kentucky Connecticut all they could handle the other night. They're out. Indiana State with a 26-5, 28-5 something record. Did I write it down? Thought I did. 28-6. Lost to Drake in the championship game of the Missouri Valley. Another good team. Probably out. While Oklahoma's probably in with an 8-10. And don't tell me how good the Big 12 is, please. Manipulating the net ratings. Although I may have been too hard on Iowa State. Oklahoma's going to get in at 8-10. Mississippi State's going to get in at 8-10 in their conference. You had bid thieves all over the place yesterday in Oregon, NC State, Temple, and UAB today playing. Duquesne with a chance to steal a bid in the A-10 so they could get two bids. There's two more potential bid thieves in play today. So anybody on that bubble is in trouble. And that bubble right now, according to Joe Lunardi, I'll give you Lunardi's just in case we want to get into this topic. And I got to post here the links to the tournament brackets, women and men's. So here's Lunardi's last four buys: Texas A&M, Mississippi State, 8-10. They're going to get a buy. They're not even in the last four in. Florida Atlantic, I'm okay with Florida Atlantic getting in here. Colorado State, Mountain West, very good. Might get 5 bids while the Big East gets 3. Big East is good. It's better than the Mountain West. I love the Mountain West. Talk about them all the time here and on the college sports huddle. It's not better than the Big East. The last four in, TCU. I have no problem there. Michigan State, Colorado. Second best record, I think, in the Pac-12. Oklahoma. Out. St. John's, Virginia, Seton Hall, Indiana State, all solid regular season records and very good conference records, given the conferences that they're playing in. Next four out after that, Pittsburgh, Providence, Kansas State, and Ohio State. Let me do this before I go to the rest of these comments, and I'll go back. Let me know where I left off. Sad about the Panthers. Let me. I want to share these. Here's a men's bracket. Bear with me a second while I do this, and I'll put it up again later. Guys, get in here, have some fun. Let's. This is going to go up a bunch of times, so I apologize for that. Did it go in or didn't it? Shit, we got a lot of comments I got to get to. There we go. Okay, there's a men's bracket. Now let me get to the women's bracket. Please, guys, get in, have some fun with us, all right? And then I'll put this up, and then I'll go back to your comments. Make sure that goes. All right. And I'll put them, and I'll share them again later. And all right, now I gotta find where I left off here. There we go. Good. Ralph said I said the Steelers were going to trade for Fields. For the Steelers, when the Steelers started stockpiling draft picks. Good call. I would like my team to have been involved in this Fields sweepstakes because I really want Marvin Harrison at 3 and not a quarterback. I have a quarterback at 3 and wait to the second round and go after Michael Penix or somebody of that ilk, maybe even wait till later for Michael Pratt. For a 6th-round draft pick, Steelers got a good deal in Justin Fields. Now, is this one of the better quarterback rooms in the league? I'm not so sure about that. It's certainly much better than it was last year. Massage molester. I got it right. All right, cool. Thank you. That was Drew Ehrlich's moniker that he put on him. And even a broken clock. Thank you, Drew, for the outstanding support there. On paper, it looks good for the Steelers. We'll see. So far, it's on paper. Exactly. Everything's on paper. That's why we play the games, right? I have this thing going yet. Oh, I know why. Yeah, same thing with the draft. We don't know. Everything's a crapshoot, which is why I don't want to invest the third pick in the draft. And I want to address something else as well. The third pick in the draft and a quarterback. Rumors are hot and heavy, and I'd love to get Rick Sherlock your opinion on this. Some heavy rumors right now that the Patriots and Vikings are talking about trading. The Patriots trading the third pick in the draft for Justin Jefferson, who's a great player, one of the best receivers in the league. Maybe the best when he's healthy. But got 1 year left on his contract. It's going to cost a fortune to retain him. He's older, if not that much older, but older than Marvin Harrison III, who I would take there. Great. I think it's a good trade for the Vikings because you don't have a quarterback. Potentially. If you love one of these 3 quarterbacks, make the trade. But if I'm the Patriots, I'm holding us hostage. At minimum, if I'm going to make that trade, then I'm getting your first-round pick. So I can get J.J. McCarthy, maybe. I mean, well, they might have to move back up to get him. I've heard J.J. McCarthy mentioned with the Vikings a lot. I like J.J. McCarthy. I'd be happy to pay if I could get Justin Jefferson and I end up with J.J. McCarthy. I can live with that trade, but there's no way Minnesota's given me Justin Jefferson and their first round pick for my third pick. Who better than a coach who hasn't had a losing season and always finds a way to win ball games? Tomlin is a perfect coach, in my opinion, for Fields. I won't disagree with that. I know Tomlin, and I do believe we may hear from Ralph Williams on this because I don't believe that he's a big Mike Tomlin fan. I am. I'm not as close to the situation as Ralph is, covering sports right there in Pittsburgh. I'll say this. He'll have at least better coaching than he had. And, you know, whether you love Arthur Smith or not, that might be a bigger deal. Arthur Smith didn't do a very good job developing, and maybe it's talent, right? Talent. You got to have talent to be able to be developed as an NFL quarterback. But he did nothing for Desmond Ridder. He did nothing for Heineke. So while I do like Mike Tomlin, and I think that I've said this often, I think the Steelers' track record with quarterbacks is one of the most amazing, consistent approaches that we've seen in any sport. You know, other than guys like Connie Mack, who are with an organization for 50 years, you've had 3 coaches there since 1969. These guys cycle through 3 coaches in 10 years now. But I do like Tomlin. I do think the Steelers could be a good situation for him. Here comes some baseball with the Yankees juggernaut row of well, first of all, the Yankees juggernaut row of batting lineup is not going to be that until Aaron Judge is healthy. And Aaron Boone said yesterday, I'm not talking about when he's going to play anymore. He's already hurt. I love Aaron Judge. I said we had to make that deal, and I'm gonna get this damn thing in my eye now until I get that curtain shut, which I'm not going to be able to do. So you're going to have to put up with that little bit of distortion, unfortunately. Anyway, I can see that team doing just fine with a pitching staff ERA of 4. Well, first of all, two things. The juggernaut, and by the way, you still need pitching to win in this league. And can I see them doing fine? Yeah, well, that depends on your definition of fine, though, Chris. I want to compete for championships. This team isn't competing for championship with this pitching staff. And if Aaron Judge isn't healthy for the full year, if Juan Soto doesn't go out and hustle and play some decent defense, if Rizzo doesn't overcome the concussion syndrome that he had last year, and DJ doesn't find the fountain of youth a little bit, this team is not going to compete for a championship. Compete for a wild card. Everybody competes for a wild card except for the Rockies and the Nationals, because there's so many. Again, I'm a Yankee fan who tries to be realistic. I know Yankee fans get on me because I'm tough on the Yankees. I'm tough on all my teams because I expect a lot. And I'm not a guy who's going to come here and just tell you because I'm a Yankee fan, hey, 162-0, World Series. Or Patriots, 17-0, Super Bowl, undefeated. Good question. I don't know what the Rams will do here in the draft. They may. Defensive tackles don't always go that high, and I think you can get guys lower than even defensive ends or linebackers or cornerbacks. And I haven't spent a lot of time digging in. We'll dig into the defensive tackle pool, but I'm not sure the Rams really need to move up to fill that position. Rams should probably look not early on. Rams need to address probably their quarterback situation for the future. Matthew Stafford's fine while he's healthy. I think they still need a few pieces on defense and probably another wide receiver at some point because Cooper Kupp isn't going to last that long. But they need to address this defense now, and you need to address that position. It's just a matter of where you do it. Ralph likes the Fields trade. He predicted people in Pittsburgh here laughed at me. I'm very surprised, and I'm very surprised this deal for both quarterbacks. I heard this morning the Steelers might sign Tyler Huntley from the Ravens and draft a quarterback in the middle rounds. So why would you do that, though, Ralph? I guess you've got Russell Wilson for 1 year, and then theoretically Justin Fields is your quarterback. That's a good thing. So you bring in Huntley as your third quarterback, but do you really need to draft a quarterback in the middle rounds if you think Fields is the real deal? And great job, by the way, getting rid of Kenny Pickett. Great job. I'll say one more time. Anybody who, first of all, they end last season refusing to suit up as the emergency quarterback and then crying like a baby when they make this Wilson trade because they told him he wasn't going to compete for the job. You didn't give him any reason to allow you to compete for the job, Kenny. Gallup is going to visit the Panthers. There's a good spot for success right there. I kid the Panthers. I do think the Panthers will bounce back with a little bit better record this year because I think their Bryce Young is better than he was last year. When he played, he didn't play terribly. And he's playing with the worst team in football, the worst offensive line, the worst skill players playing around him. I'm going to have to adjust that light. Hang on one second, guys. Bear with me 1 second, okay? I'll be right back. All right, that's better. That's going to drive me nuts the whole show, that little distortion on my shoulder. Got to get the curtain closed. Panthers could be improved. Greatly improved, no. Improved would be 5 wins. Well, Jim Schwartz didn't bring in Mike Vrabel here. Jim Schwartz doesn't have the ability to hire coaches. That's Stefanski and the GM. So I understand he's got a relationship there. But why would Kevin Stefanski bring in a guy who will be, if this team, I don't care if you're 2-time coach of the year or not, he hasn't won anything of note past the regular season. Why do you bring in a guy who would be a threat if you don't have a relationship with him? If you do, I get it. But if the head coach doesn't have that relationship, I don't care if Jim Schwartz has a relationship with Mike Vrabel. That's not going to protect Kevin Stefanski if they start to struggle next year. When you got a really good football coach there in a consultant role, I think it's strange. I think it's a little strange, Alan. Nagy won a Super Bowl as the OC in Kansas City. He's terrible at quarterbacks. He got Chicago to a playoff 1 year, his first year, I think. And then, listen, I thought Mitchell Trubisky had some talent and potential out of college. He screwed him up royally, jerking him in and out of the lineup. And then they give him the keys to Justin Fields. I'm not overrating him. I know you see him twice a year. I watched him against the Patriots on a Monday night 2 years ago. He tore this team apart. I know it wasn't a great team, but it wasn't it wasn't as bad as the team was last year. He tore them apart. I watched him play the end of many because the Bears weren't getting top coverage. But I watched a lot of games. This team won. I don't know what they go 5-6 or 6-2 down the stretch, something like that. 5-2, whatever. After a horrendous start, and Fields played much better. There are worse quarterbacks here in the league than Justin Fields. Justin Fields is better than Sam Darnold ever was. Justin Fields is better than Drew Lock ever was. I mean, let me just, because I don't think I'm overrating him. He's better than Russell Wilson right now. Him I saw play a bunch. And all you see Russell Wilson do is immediately get out of the pocket and get away from whatever structured game plan Sean Payton might put together. That's fine when you're playing for Pete Carroll and you got the beast behind you and you're going to pound the football, and then we can draw playground plays on the in the dirt for the passing game, which is what happened up there. That's over exaggeration. And if I'm overrating Fields, I could be, based on what I've seen. And again, I've seen him play at least. I saw him play parts of almost a game every week. And maybe all I saw was the good stuff, right? But I can tell you he's better than a good part of this league. Let me take a look right now. And some of this will, again, I've backed some of these guys before. Let me take a quick look, Rick. I'm going to go through the league and tell you how many guys Justin Fields worse than. The Bills, no. Dolphins, for now, no. Jets, don't know. But I'll give you, okay, he's better. Patriots. I think he could play for the Browns. I'm going to take 2. Steelers, 3. Bengals, no. Texans, no. Jaguars, no. Colts, 4. Titans, 5. Although I love Will Levis, I really do. Right now, Justin Fields is better. Chiefs, obviously not. Raiders, 6. Broncos, 7. Chargers, of course not. Cowboys, no. Eagles, no. Giants, 8. Commanders, 9. Lions, no. Packers, no. Vikings, 10. Bears, I'll discount them only because they didn't want them. New Orleans, 11. Falcons, probably not. Panthers, 12. 49ers, Rams, Seahawks. Seahawks, maybe. I just gave you 11 or 12 teams he could start for or compete for the job at the worst. And he'll get better at reading defenses with coaching help. You go into next season with Sam Darnold as your quarterback, Rick, you're going to wish you had Justin Fields. You're going to wish you had W.C. Fields. Sorry. Jimmy G's with the Rams. There you go. Thank you for that. I just don't want to continue to try to pull up my list here. Ralph, the original proposed plan for the Steelers was going to be Pickett, Tannehill, and Mariota. Excellent plan there. It's a good thing that blew up. As much as I'm not a big fan of Russell Wilson anymore, he's better than Pickett. He's better than Tannehill. And Mariota's another guy. So you'd bring in Pickett, who quit on your team last year, wouldn't suit up for Game 17. You'd bring in Mariota. How he's in the league at all, I don't know, because he quit on the Falcons 2 years ago in the middle of the season, just packed up his stuff and left when he lost the starter's job. Bunch of freaking prima donnas, man. You want to play better. Jesus. Garoppolo went to the Rams. Thank you, Ralph. Steelers need to get some receivers to help Wilson and Fields. That's for sure. But there's a lot of receivers in this draft. Anthony says, when he heard the Eagles wanted to trade for Justin Fields, it got me thinking Hurts is not the future quarterback there. Well, you know what? He was a big part of the problem. We had a debate yesterday on the Mac and Jack show about Saquon Barkley and the Eagles and whether he would fix that offense. I don't think he'll fix it alone. He has he's got, game-breaking potential. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can be somebody, at the bottom line, he's somebody that defenses have to game plan for and focus on. To me, you didn't have to game plan for the Eagles rushing game, which was okay. Swift was okay. He's not Barkley. He doesn't have the potential of Barkley. When you game plan against San Francisco, you need to account for McCaffrey because you're always making sure one guy doesn't beat you. And I think last year, teams made sure Jalen Hurts couldn't beat them. And if you're able to take that focus off of him a little bit, I think Jalen Hurts possibly can get back to where he was. Or maybe that was an outlier that season from 2 years ago, and he's not that player. And Justin Fields could have been potentially protection against that. Hurts' season wasn't horrendous last year until the end. Things really got ugly. But again, I think if teams can't just say, I'm taking Jalen Hurts out of this game, because if you do that, then Barkley's liable to beat your ass. Bill Pulver. Good to have you with us, William. They need to sort. Oh, sorry. Alex Simpson from across the pond in merry old England. Sorry about that St. Patrick's Day crack earlier, Alec. We need to sort Dak's contract. They need. Sorry, Alec is a 49er fan. Here's the thing with these quarterbacks making so much money, $40-50 million a year. You keep paying these guys and you have to trade half your team away. Like the Cowboys have stripped a lot of good players off the roster. I'm not saying they can't replace them, but the cap is really stringent on these guys or restricting these guys. And if you're going to pay quarterbacks $40 and $50 million a year, well, you're going to be lacking elsewhere. Kenny Pickett was, there's a lot of guys that are great college quarterbacks for sure. Kenny Pickett was a great college quarterback. Let's see, what was I saying? Kenny Pickett had a great college career. Kenny's OC quarterback coach at Pitt was Mark Whipple. With Pickett, it could be an A system. Where is Mark Whipple? Is Mark Whipple in the NFL now? I don't really know, Ralph. But I will say this. Kenny Pickett was a great college quarterback, and some guys are just great college quarterbacks. Tim Tebow, maybe the best college quarterback or player of all time, couldn't make it in the pros, right? Steve Spurrier, great college quarterback, couldn't make it in the pros. Pat Sullivan couldn't make it in the pros. Sam Bradford, Ryan Leaf, Rick Meyer. There's a bunch of great college quarterbacks. I'm missing a bunch. Ty Detmer, Andre Ware, great college players. Can't make it in the pros. Garoppolo backs up Stafford. Marquise Browns goes to the Chiefs. A lot of rumors too, and I think they were started by Odell. And I misinterpreted. I saw a headline yesterday when I was going through some stuff last night that Beckett had signed with Odell Beckham, had signed with the Chiefs, and I must have misread that. It was probably tied to an article about Marquise Brown. So I think that's a good signing for the Chiefs. I like Marquise Brown. And Garoppolo, look at LA's probably a good place for him to back up Stafford. And better than what they had. Neil Bush. Yeah, back to the NCAA tournament. It would be a real crime leaving out Indiana State. As I said, 28-6 regular season record. One of the great stories in college basketball this year. Not just them, but their coach. Go read about their coach's story. It's a great story. But they got beat by a really good team. Drake's a really good team. They've been in like 5 of the last 6 NCAA tournaments. Drake is always a possibility for that first round upset as well. So we had some bid stealers and bid thieves yesterday, 4 of them, and maybe 2 more today. So that really hurts Indiana State, hurts St. John's, hurts Pittsburgh, hurts Virginia. I think all those teams should find a way in. I thought if St. John's got in, and I mentioned this in our little TGI Sports Talk chat, which I'll be happy to add anybody to. If anybody wants to get in that chat, I'll be happy to add them to it. Just let me know. St. John's with the right draw, I could have seen as a Sweet 16 team for sure. Rick Pitino's done a great job this year. Rick Pitino got ripped up and down in the press in New York when he went ballistic in public on his team. But this is classic Rick Pitino. He's done this everywhere he's been. And he knows how to motivate kids. You can think what you want about Rick Pitino, the person, whatever. He's a great college basketball coach. This would have been the 6th different team. He already holds a record, I think, with 5. The 6th different team he would take to the NCAA tournament. They're not dead yet, but they're on life support. And we'll see tonight at 6 whether they get in. I think it's 6. Pickett acted like a crybaby instead of a team player when he was told that Wilson was coming here. Yeah. He's a bad act. He's a bad act. First of all, you're not good enough to have that attitude. Nobody should have that attitude. But people without any merit to have an attitude like that are doubly at fault. Because it shows you don't have any self-awareness of where you actually stand in this league, which is nowhere, Kenny. Nowhere. So back to Neil's comment here, by the way. I put in the chat here, so kind of scroll through here. There's a link to the women's and a link to the men's college basketball tournament. Neil, I know you want to get into it. To pick your South Carolina Gamecocks on both brackets. Pick it. I already did that. Chargers revamp wide receiver core. Interesting. Yeah, Allen gone to Chicago. Did Mike Williams sign with I thought I heard Mike Williams sign with I want to say the Jets, or maybe he was just interested. Again, there's so much information out there. You lose track of who they signed with and who they didn't and who's just talking. No, I guess he just talked to the Jets. Mike Williams is a really good. Keenan Allen's a great wide receiver, healthy. Mike Williams is maybe a notch below, maybe as good as Keenan Allen when he's healthy. Health has been a problem specifically for Williams and even Allen last year. Big movement there, too. Kenny Pickett has small hands and can't really throw the long ball. You know, they said that about Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a pretty good career. I think his attitude holds him back more than anything. Kellen Moore is the OC there. I like Kellen Moore. Little surprised Kellen Moore hasn't gotten more action at head coach inquiries. Here's the, by the way, guys, go through it. You can see the link here for the men, and here's the link for the women. If you can't just click on it, which I think you can do, or you can go to TGI Sports Talk and click the link there and go sign up. Let's have some fun. Also have someone coming on Tuesday who covers the Eagles about the Pickett trade. There you go. Good stuff, Ralph. We'll be listening in. Good morning, Pulverizer. Good morning, Billy. I think I said good morning to you, didn't I, Billy? Good to have you with us this morning. Don't know where Waldo is. Hopefully you're in town. Talked to Drew yesterday, too, about our little local happy hour, which I hope to put together in April. I think April is going to be a month where maybe I can take some downtime and we'll get together up here in Clifton Park area, I think. So Kenny, Rick, Billy, Mark Robertshaw, Steve Orpello, Dave Guyette, any of you guys can get to Drew brought up Buffalo Wild Wings, which we might do. I was trying to think of a place. There's a lot of great places here, Druthers and the Flats. There's some other good places, but to kind of do what we want to do, I think Buffalo Chicken Wings might work out pretty good. Who won the bracket last year? It might have been you, Anthony. I don't remember. It wasn't me. I know that. I had Marquette busted my bracket early. If I can figure out that information, let me see. Let me take a quick look. Does it give me my history or not? Sometimes you can get the history. Yeah. All I'm seeing is this year. So sometimes you can go back and see the history, but I can't do it, Anthony. So maybe it was you. If it was you, congratulations. What I miss here. Steelers have good front office and Omar Khan and Andy Weddle, who came from Philly. Listen, Pittsburgh's a consistent franchise for sure. They haven't had very many bad years in almost 55 years. It'll never happen, especially after letting Cousins and Hunter go. What will never happen? Trading Jefferson? You got nobody to throw to him. I mean, Rick, honestly. Now, and again, you can get somebody later in the draft, and I don't think there's any other veteran quarterbacks that are worth bringing in here. Are you willing to go into next year with Sam Darnold? And if you are, do you think that's a recipe for playoff, even challenging for the playoffs, much less a championship? We know what Sam Darnold is. You think, and I love your coach, Kevin O'Connell. Spent some time with the Patriots as a player. And I like what he's done as a coach in the NFL with quarterbacks. He's not going to change who Sam Darnold is. As good as he is. Bears really need to do something this year. Both, I agree. I thought the head coach could have been in trouble this year. I think their strong finish kind of saved that. But here they are, starting over for the third time in 5 years. Can't do that. I didn't call him talent, Neil. I was saying Arthur Smith didn't do anything to improve their level of play. I didn't say they were talented. Believe me, Justin Fields is a whole lot better than both of these guys, and so is Russell Wilson, even in his advanced years and diminished athleticism / talent. And again, he is a perfect example of why you can't just look at numbers. The numbers say he was a pretty good quarterback last year. The record, and when you give him the eye test, it doesn't. And Rick feels the same way about Fields. Not sure how he played in those games against Minnesota. I'm not even sure if the games I saw him play were against Minnesota. I think I saw him play against the Redskins, team formerly known as the Redskins. And again, I saw him 2 years ago where he played one of the best games I've seen in a long time against the Patriots. Does either quarterback now in Pittsburgh perform? This is CA. Does either quarterback now in Pittsburgh perform to stay on a team after the? Well, Fields is there. Well, he's going to have a contract coming up. I'm sure his rookie contract's probably expiring, if I'm not wrong. Same as Mac Jones would have been. So Russell Wilson signed for 1 year. Denver's paying him tens of millions of dollars. Steelers are paying him $1 million for 1 year. I don't think he's a long-term solution. If he played well and the team made the playoffs, well, maybe Russell Wilson continues. I still think Fields might be the starter before the year's out next year, and I do think he will stay with the team going past this year because I think that Justin Fields has potential to be a decent player in this league. Obviously, there are guys like Rick who disagree with me, and that's why this is a great country. We can disagree, and at the end of the day, go have a beer. Stop up to Creekside and see me today, Rick. I hope they don't have some big St. Patrick's Day party because I don't want to deal with a bunch of people. Sorry. Drew likes Tomlin too, but they haven't figured out the quarterback situation since Big Ben left for sure. And that's a lot of teams. You have a great quarterback for a long time, and traditionally you're going to struggle. I mean, the Colts got lucky. They went from Manning to Luck, and then when Luck left, nothing, right? Patriots with Brady, same situation. The Dolphins with Marino, same situation. Elway, same situation. I can keep going. You have these franchise quarterbacks that are there for forever. It is a tough struggle to figure it out because you're never drafting high enough to get a good guy. And the Patriots got lucky, obviously, with Tom Brady at 199. I think that's what the Patriots ought to do, by the way, and I keep saying this. Whoever's available from Michigan on the quarterback depth chart in the 6th round at pick 199, take him. No, not as many playoff spots as hockey or the NBA. But give them time, Kenny. Rob Manfred has already talked about expanding the playoffs. If we're talking about baseball, I'm sure, I think you are. Or maybe you're talking about football. I don't know. Either way, both of them will continue to expand the playoffs until we have everybody in there. Oh, cover me right up. Ralph. Here in Pittsburgh, we call Mike Tomlin mediocre Mike Tomlin. Or mediocre Mike. I know I've heard you use that comment. Just got another 2-year contract extension. Also, Tomlin won a Super Bowl with Bill Cowher's players. Fair enough. Also, Tomlin's drafts must have been a bust. Again, Tomlin doesn't have total autonomy there. Like, say, I'm going to take this down a little bit. I'll read it from the because people want to see my beautiful face here, Ralph. So I'll read the rest of your comment here. Also, Tomlin's drafts must have been a bust. The Steelers have had Bell Brown and Ben. I'm not sure who Bell Brown is, and could not get a Super Bowl It's about Super Bowls. I agree, it's about Super Bowls. And Tom will never win another Super Bowl with his input in the draft is limited now because of bad drafts. How much influence did he have before, though? He wasn't like calling all the shots, I don't think. Again, you know better than I. And even Colbert and the Steelers GM in the regime now. As I said, when I was supporting Mike Tomlin, I was saying Ralph probably, from the time I said that, he was probably typing that. I knew from reading Ralph's previous comments and watching Ralph's content that he's not a huge Mike Tomlin fan. Drew, no more Mac Jones to kick around anymore. Just who is the New England quarterback? As it stands today, it's Jacoby Brissett. And a good bridge. The Patriots want Patriots again, similar to Fields with less leverage, I think. The Patriots could have waited and probably got a 5th round draft pick instead of a 6th round pick, but they wanted to have a clean slate. Bailey Zappi is going to be gone, I would think, as well. At some point around draft time, after the draft, assuming the Patriots pick a quarterback, which they are. So the plan would be whoever they pick, whether they take somebody at the 3rd pick and it's Drake May or it's Jalen Daniels, or they take somebody later. They follow my advice and take Marvin Harrison and Michael Penix later, or even Michael Pratt later. Well, whoever that guy is, he's going to compete with Jacoby Brissett in camp, and Brissett will be potentially a 1-year bridge to when that kid plays. That's the plan. The kid could play sooner if he shows he can play. Jacoby Brissett's a competent short-term bridge, right? I don't want him multiple years, and he's only had his best full season he had in Cleveland a couple of years ago. Deshaun, the massage molester, was suspended, doing God knows what then. But he had a great year under Alex Van Pelt, who was the offensive coordinator there and is now in New England. So right now it's Brissett. Whoever they draft will compete. And listen, this team is not under any illusions, nor am I, that they're going to compete, maybe even for a playoff spot this year, much less a Super Bowl. So I think we're willing to wait a little bit. I got an outstanding toll invoice of $60. What the hell is that? I'm buying that. There's a phone number I can call for that. Sorry about that, guys. I got distracted. I was waiting for something. I got to keep an eye on another situation, so I checked my phone. I apologize. Ralph Williams, the only reason why the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett, not to hear static from the Pitt fans until the Steelers, going back 40 years, probably. And by the way, obviously the Steelers weren't the only transgressors here, because how many other teams passed on him? 20 plus teams passed on Dan Marino in that draft because there was a lot of rumors. We know, and Ralph, you were there. Not sure how old Ralph is. He's probably not as old as my old 64-year-old ass, almost 64-year-old ass. But I remember very well that 83 draft where there were a lot of rumors about Dan Marino coming out of that draft, which I won't repeat all of them here today to besmirch him further. They turned out not to be accurate, and he turned out to be one of the great quarterbacks of all time, albeit maybe the best quarterback of all time that never won a Super Bowl. Dave Kalanis has his hands full in Carolina. He sure does. Although I think that team will be better. I'm one who thinks Bryce Young can still play in this league. He's small. Small guys have thrived, right? Drew Brees did pretty good for a long time. Doug Flutie had a good stretch. Bryce Young needs to stay healthy, get a better offensive line, and better skill players around him before I can make any judgment on Bryce Young. And I think the comparisons to him and C.J. Stroud in their first year are not even apples to apples. We didn't know it at the time, but C.J. was on a better team, a much better team, surrounded by better players. So while I don't think Carolina is going to be competing for a playoff spot, I think Carolina could win 5 or 6 games next year if they improve their offensive line and maybe get a wide receiver for Bryce to throw to and keep him upright. Anthony says, if you think the Eagles does bad, Kellen Moore could be the next head coach. Good point. There was a lot of talk at the end of last year that the problems in Philadelphia stemmed around the coaching staff and the head coach particularly. The rumors now are that that's not the case, that the players were the problem. And some of the players had a serious issue with Jalen Hurts too. So either way, it doesn't matter. With the way the Eagles finished last year, if the Eagles get off 1-3 or 2-4, Sirianni's going to have some heat, serious heat. Chris. Sorry, all I saw was Tiger Woods, and I'm like, well, where'd we go here? Chris says, I could see Tiger Woods competing a lot tighter this year, not winning anything, be more of a factor as he becomes more acclimated to his new old body. I only laughed not because it was quite a switch, which that's why we're the Stream of Consciousness show here, because we are just all over the place. And I love to talk golf. I don't talk a lot of golf on this show because I don't know that I have a lot of golf followers. And if we have more in year one, Chris, we will talk more golf. I think Tiger will play better this year. I agree. Tiger has to, as you said, probably come to terms with the new reality that he's never going to be the best player out there. He's never going to be light years ahead of everybody else. And he's going to have to really grind to win tournaments, much less majors. I said this before, and I guess I'm a little hesitant to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. Tiger Woods is not going to win another major. I said it once before, and then he surprised me and came out of nowhere to win the Masters a few years back, and it was a great performance. And Tiger, listen, I'll root for a Tiger comeback. I like comeback stories. Tiger's not the best person in the world, but he's by far not the worst in sports. And a lot of people want to tear him down. People love it when, we do that in this country all the time. I talk about it a lot. That our mentality is to really build people up. We do it all the time. We build people up. Think about Tom Brady. Think about Derek Jeter. Think about Mahomes. Think about whoever, Tiger Woods. People are all over him. They love him. They build him up and make him out to be everything. Put him on a pedestal. Then they can't wait to knock him off that pedestal. Find any little chink in their armor. They're doing it with Patrick Mahomes now. Patrick Mahomes isn't a great quarterback. Yes, he is. Is he the GOAT? No. He's a great quarterback. I can't believe the people that rip him. And Tiger had the same kind of problem. Tiger created his own issues. He's got to take responsibility for that. But, hey, it'll be fun to watch. I know Kenny's a golf fan too. He's a fan of golf. Where he's a golf fan, I don't know. Kenny and I will be playing some golf soon, right, Kenny? Let's get out and play Eagle Crest here. Cleveland's been bad for many years and will never go any further. Well, they've had a couple of good years, but they should have never got rid of Baker Mayfield and paid Deshaun Watson, I said his name again, the massage molester, the money that they paid him. They blew up the quarterback market. Everybody else really loves what Cleveland did and the issues it caused them contract-wise for a guy who, while talented, has character issues, obviously. Now they've made some playoffs. They should have kept Baker Mayfield. They made playoffs. They had a good run in the playoffs one year with Baker Mayfield. Had a tough loss to the Bills. I think the year the Bills got beaten in a championship game by the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. And Kevin Stefanski's been a coach of the year twice, so they're not terrible. I mean, they are one of the few teams left in the NFL that has not made a Super Bowl. I believe the only teams are the Lions. See, can I do this? I probably gotta have the teams in front of me to do it. Hang on. Let me go to the standings page here. So the only teams not to make the playoffs, the Lions and the Browns, we know. They made it. 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 The Texans, that's 3. The Jaguars is 4. They made it. They made it. They made it. They made it. That's it. That's it. 4 teams have never made the Super Bowl. Cleveland's one of them. And I don't know why Kevin Stefanski would sign off on putting Mike Vrabel in any kind of role here. Because if he gets off to a bad start, people are going to call for his head. And there's a guy right there that you can plug in. And a really good football coach at that. Matt Nagy would be horrible if it were not for Andy Reid and Mahomes. There's that too. There is something to be said about. Again, Matt Nagy was not good in Chicago. He was not good with quarterbacks in Chicago. Mitch Trubisky, and you saw him play in Pittsburgh, Ralph. He's gone back to Buffalo now. But when Mitch Trubisky was in Chicago, and remember, they traded up to get him. They traded up. Well, they probably didn't need to trade up. They traded up to get him. And Mahomes would have been on the board and some other guys, including Daniel Jones. So they're probably the same player. Mitchell Trubisky showed some promise. And Nagy just ruined him. Very similar to what Bill Belichick, who, again, a little similarly to Ralph. I mean, I love Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick is the major problem, major reason why the Patriots are where they are today. And I mean that in a bad way, not a good way. Yes, he does, Keith. So that's a little random. That's Robert Butler from Sports Scopes, by the way, guys. Catch Robert's shows every night. I believe at 8:00 Eastern time, 8 p.m. I was on with Robert this past Wednesday for a half hour or so. But I'm not sure where the yes, he does comes from, Robert. So if you're still with me, fill me in, because sometimes we get a little behind and I don't know what we're talking about. Justin must see the field and have performances that justify the quietest evil empire picking up his 5th-year option of $25 million. There you go, $25 million on his rookie year option, his rookie contract option. But here's the thing, CA, if he doesn't see the field, why'd you bring him in? You said there's no competition for the starting job. It's Russell Wilson's. So if Russell Wilson does well, you're just going to dump. Yeah, I guess you didn't invest a lot for Justin Fields. So if you did cut bait after a year, which you'd be foolish to do, by the way, because he's going to be a force in this league. Now, you could cut him and hope you can re-sign him for less than the $25 million. But then you're going to be in competition with other teams who won't have to give up anything to get him. Drew, Browns can't seem to figure out how to make the molester and his replacements work. I don't think the molester's that great a quarterback anyway. He's a great athlete. But to me, more in the Russell Wilson vein of quarterbacks rather than Tom Brady's, which isn't a fair comparison, I know, but maybe Vrabel can help that Tannehill rejuvenation. So I doubt he's going to do that from a consultant role, Drew. So we're going to have him join this team as the head coach at some point. It's just a strange move by Cleveland and Stefanski. Again, if I'm Stefanski and I've got a relationship, Alan pointed out the relationships with Schwartz. Well, so what? That's not protecting Stefanski. Vikings really leaning into the draft. It's going to be interesting. Vikings, I think the Vikings could be one of the big movers and shakers here as far as moving down, up, making some deals in this draft, on this draft day. Maybe both for draft picks, maybe to move up for J.J. McCarthy. Maybe make a trade for the third pick. Maybe that's on the table. Potentially, or theoretically on the table, I should say. Maybe bring in some veterans. Who knows? Vikings right now, as they stand, are not a very good football team outside of Justin Jefferson and a few other individuals. This team will go nowhere with Sam Darnold. I must have lost Rick, or he's pissed off at me, one or the other. I see James Martin out there. How you doing, James? Appreciate you, Edie. I can't say your name there. Apologize. Danny Fuller out in sunny California. Pac-12, by the way. Danny's a big UCLA fan, UCLA grad, if I'm not mistaken. Not a Mitch Cronin fan. And Danny, and I'll tell everybody else again, I put into the comments here and on the TGI Sports Talk page, there is a men's bracket and a women's bracket. Please get in. Let's have some fun. We talk about it on the shows and have some fun with that. But at one, we had a bid thief yesterday out of the Pac-12 with Oregon winning the Pac-12 Conference Championship tournament, which really, again, we had, as I said, 4 bid thieves yesterday. And I'll repeat that again. Oregon, New Mexico, most likely, although they might have been in just getting to the final. NC State for sure. And Temple getting to the American Conference tournament championship game against UAB is definitely going to bid, because I think they're going to get one other bid at least, say Florida Atlantic or maybe. I think Memphis is probably out now, but this is the most we've talked about the Steelers ever on this show. Steelers have 2 quarterback coaches this year, Mike Sullivan and Mark Azzini. I can't say that name. From the Jets, and Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator, we know. And Arthur Smith's coaching has gotten better. It has gotten better. How do we know that, Ralph? I mean, the last we saw him, he was coaching a pretty talented Atlanta team to 6 or 7 wins. What did they win? What did they win last year? 7 wins. 6 wins, I think, the year before. He didn't do anything to coach up Ritter or Henneke. And again, to Neil Bush's point, I didn't say these guys were talented guys, but really good coaches can coach guys with limited talent to play above that talent, even if it's not world-beating, competent. So I'm not sure that we can say it's gotten better. Mike Sullivan coached Eli Manning in New York with the Giants, and that's a good plus for his resume. Eli won 2 of the football games I would most like to forget in my many years watching football. No, Whipple was OC at Nebraska when he got fired and Matt Rule took over. Mark Whipple's wife is sick. Oh, we're sorry to hear that. We certainly wish her well, not knowing what's going on, but we'll wish the family well. We never like to hear any of that. Danny Fuller says all of Southern Cal's quarterbacks in college, crappy NFL, love it. Is that true, though? Carson Palmer had a pretty good career. But I guess for the most part, other than him, at the top of my head, Pat Hayden played okay years ago. Started for the Rams, took him to some NFC championship games. But they're always trying to replace him. Leinart went belly up. Rodney Peete had a decent career. Certainly Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez did go to 2 back-to-back championship games, but he'll be remembered for the butt fumble. So I guess I can't. The only one I would say you're wrong about is Carson Palmer, for sure. What do you got here, Chris? Chris, our Canadian correspondent, talks about the Blue Jays finishing higher than 3rd in the East. I really can't. Building a team behind Guerrero was bonkers. He's a self-entitled brat. Well, that's pretty clear and to the point. A lot of them are, unfortunately, Chris. I said last year, and I'm going to go with this prediction again. I said last year that Schneider would be the first guy fired. And I think he'll be one of the first guys fired this year. And Donnie Mattingly, who I personally would like to see back in pinstripes managing my team, will be managing the hated Toronto Blue Jays. But I don't disagree with your assessment as we talked today. Injury got Bradford, was good, could have been very good. Did it? Did it though, Rick? Let me check this guy out. By the way, didn't he play for the Vikes for a while? I know he got drafted by the Rams. Let's check him out. Football Reference. He did go to Minnesota. So look I know injuries got to him, okay? You say. He missed significant time his second year. Played 10 games. Played 7 games in his 4th year. But other years he played 16 games, 16 games, 14 games, 15 games. He was actually pretty good one year, but 71.6. This was a good year. His first year in Minnesota was pretty good, Rick. I'll give you that. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completed 71% of his passes. But other than that, 18-15, 21-13, too many interceptions, 14-4, 19-14. He's not as bad as what he's not as bad as I probably would like him to have been. If that makes any sense. He was actually the AP Rookie of the Year in 2010 with St. Louis. He played on those St. Louis teams weren't very good either, by the way. And neither were those Minnesota teams, actually, by the time he got there. So, anyway, I know injuries at the end of his career. Look, he had a pretty good first year with Minnesota. Then I know injuries got to him. I wouldn't say, he's not Sam Darnold bad. Davis is not the coach for NC. Purdue again came up small. NC, North Carolina is going to be a number 1 seed in this tournament. I don't know why we really get on Hubert Davis, and I've at times wavered. But Hubert Davis, don't forget, his first year, very tough replacing a legend in any sport. He replaced, the second best coach in North Carolina history, a guy with multiple national championships in Williams. Had a rough regular season and had a run to the Final Four. Last year, they regressed a bit because they weren't as good as they were. He's done a really good job. This team, they lost to North Carolina State yesterday. They had a great run to the finals. They're 17-3 in the league, 27-7 overall. They're 4th in the last AP poll before these championship weekend. They're going to be a number 1 seed in this tournament. Now we're going to see whether he can coach in a tournament as well as he did 2 years ago. Purdue again. They come up small. They have an excellent big man in Edney, but their guard play is not as good as it should be. And guard play has killed them in the tournament overall. By the way, they got beat by, if I'm not mistaken, let me check the championship week. Let me check. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they got beat by Wisconsin, who started to right the ship. Wisconsin's a very good team and has had a midseason swoon, but really started to get it back together. I can't seem to find the Big Ten real quickly. So let me do it a different way. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, we got about 20 minutes left here. I might end a couple minutes early because I got some guests that are going to be heading out, and I want to say goodbye to them before they go. Boy, why can't I find the Big Ten? It shouldn't be that hard. Wisconsin, yes, they lost in overtime to Wisconsin, who's not a bad basketball team. This isn't them going out in the first round to Fairleigh Dickinson. But I agree, Rick. Paintier's been there a long time. He needs a long run in this tournament. It's Edney's last year, and it would be a shame to waste that career. And you need good veteran guard play in this tournament. Neil Bush, Kellen Moore was awful. Glad the boy genius went to L.A. He didn't stick there either. He had good offenses in Dallas. And if you think Kellen Moore is the reason you were losing in Dallas, I think you're wrong, Neil. There was a lot of problems in San Diego. That didn't start with Kellen Moore. It started with Staley. The problems in Dallas revolve around Jerry Jones, and that's that. Kellen Moore's offenses were not terrible in Dallas. He scored a lot of points. He's got a quarterback that maybe didn't make the best use of his quarterback, which is a mark against him. But I don't know. I like Kellen Moore. I really do. And I would have rather seen Kellen Moore come in and be my offensive coordinator than Alex Van Pelt, quite frankly. But as a Cowboy fan and watching them struggle through those years, I can understand. Blame's got to go somewhere, and head coaches and coordinators are where it goes, even when it should be the owner. Like at this follow, I don't get to see any Facebook comments. What? Where are you watching from? You're on YouTube? Yeah, that's the problem. One of the problems when you're on YouTube, you're not going to see the comments. If you do go to Facebook and follow the Facebook page, you can see all the comments that are coming up. But I do share all the comments too, if I see them. In fact, I should do something because I know I've had a problem in the past where guys weren't coming up. I should just check to see if and I tell people, if you ever don't have your comments showing up or I'm not mentioning them, please send me a private chat so I can at least answer the questions or respond to the comments, I should say. So, yeah, that's the problem. When you're on YouTube, you don't get to see the Facebook. Well, you should. I guess you don't. Now that I think about it, you don't. You'll see them when I post them. Same way on Roku. You can't post. You can't post there. On YouTube, you can post, and the comments do come up in the chat room. I don't know what happens on Twitter. Does anybody know? Is anybody watching from Twitter? And I ask every week, and there are lots of people watching on Twitter. I don't know what happens when you comment from there. I got to test it myself. Look, what does that mean? Look at this follow and don't see any. I would go to Facebook. I don't know whether you use Facebook CA or not. If you don't, no problem. But to be able, and again, I'm posting all the comments, so it's not like you're going to miss any. 49ers didn't miss a beat back in the day. I'm not sure where we're going there, Danny. What are we talking about? Back when they were replacing quarterbacks? Well, I think it took them a while to replace Steve Young. They didn't miss a beat. And again, if we're talking about that, I don't know. Again, I'm just guessing because guys got to give me a little. Remember, there's so many comments that And this is the stream of consciousness, so we're kind of all over the place. So I don't know what you're talking about. I think we may have been talking about replacing quarterbacks. They did miss a beat when they chased Montana out of town and played Young, but they didn't exactly do a great job replacing Young. It took a long time. Jeff Garcia was okay, but you remember some of those guys that came through San Francisco? And don't get me going about before. So it's a great organization. They did a great job for a long time, but it is tough. If we're still talking about replacing a legend, it's hard. You might do it once. Colts did it with Manning to Luck. But when Luck walked away, so did their Luck. Forecasting beforehand your replies as well as some of the lads' Facebook comments before they write them. Love this little show on Sundays. Forecasting beforehand. Oh, I see. That's a fun. Well, I'm fairly consistent, I think, CA. So my responses probably aren't that hard to forecast. And here comes one now. Let me gather myself before I read this, because all I see is my great GM, Cashman, says Soto goes free agency. Hope they win the World Series this year. Bring it, Brian. Why'd we bring him here for the talent, all the talent you sent to San Diego? Michael King is going to be greatly missed on this team this year. Look at this rotation. If you think Garrett Cole is out for 2 months, I got some land I want to sell you in New York. I'm not buying any of this. I'm not buying it from the team. I'm not buying it from Garrett Cole. I still say he'll have Tommy John surgery this year. Oh, if Mike Tyson knocks out the YouTube guy, is that what he is, a YouTube guy? It's on Netflix. I know that, just to be clear. But I don't know about it's an exhibition. Does the YouTube guy still come out smelling like roses because of YouTube? I don't know. Jake Paul, right? So I don't know that he's a YouTube guy or what his deal is. I know he's an MMA fighter, I think now. Or was, I'm sorry. I think he was an MMA fighter and then became a boxer. And as far as I know, he's one of the bigger names in the heavyweight division, which is a disaster. I don't follow boxing anymore. I did years ago when the division was really good. But I stopped following probably a few years after Mike Tyson. When he was gone, Holyfield was gone, Lennox Lewis was gone. The names are just interchangeable. But you know what? Because of curiosity and you know, the whole everybody stops to watch a car wreck, probably a bunch of people, including me, will tune in to watch Mike Tyson. And he looked in pretty good shape in some training videos the other day, so we'll see. I think Rick might have posted something in the chat. Of course, you all often ground me with insights useful as well. CA, you are one of our unique posters because you are very eclectic and in your your views. And I can say I'm never quite sure what's coming next from CA. And I enjoy that. That's what this show is all about. About 10 minutes left or less if I can get through the comments. I'm going to start going through these a little bit quicker. I'm glad they got Van Pelt out of Cleveland and Stefanski. He and Alex and Stefanski weren't getting along. I'm not terribly excited about the Alex Van Pelt hiring in New England. We'll see how it goes. Marino was a Steeler. If Mr. Marino was a Steeler, the Steelers would have 10 Super Bowls. Well, again, potentially. In hindsight, you still got to go play the games and win a Super Bowl. And it's not that easy to do. I mean, as good as Dan Marino was, You still got to be able to run the football. And again, I'd have to look at those Steeler teams weren't all that good in those years. And I know quarterback was a big part of it, but I don't know if the rest of the roster was all that good either. And I'd have to go back and look. So Ralph is 55, so he was old enough to be able to see Marino play at Pitt. Eagles also did, good point. They brought in Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, which I think is a really good move for them. Some issues in Miami. Very strange that he left there. And their defense went down with injuries last year. Their defense was pretty good until the injuries took over. And yes, the Dan Marino rumor was true. Whether what he did is true has yet to be seen. The rumor, yes, the rumor. So the rumor happened. We don't know whether the rumor is true, just to be clear about Ralph saying. And the rumor was he was heavily involved with drugs at Pitt. And that's why so many teams passed on him, quite frankly. Until Tiger learns, this is Kenny, who does know golf, learns he is best when he uses his middle irons, drive at 270, and use your irons to stick it close. I agree. Tiger needs to learn. He doesn't need to hit the ball 350 yards off the tee. Today's Players Championship should be good. Good Sunday. Schaffel, I can never say his name either. I love his game, though. And Clark, Harmon, and some others could make a run. I didn't see much of the golf yesterday, Neil, and I hope to see more of it today. With so much basketball yesterday and company in town, I didn't get to see a lot of golf yesterday or all weekend. And I like the Players Championship. It's just played at a bad time. Eagle Crest. Well, as soon as they open, Kenny, we can get up to Eagle Crest. I'll keep you informed. So probably a few weeks yet. I don't want to go out and play in the mud. I'll get some intel. The guy who does the maintenance on my sprinkler system also works up there. So I'll get some intel from him in the next couple weeks about how the courses, what kind of shape the course is in. Either Eagle Crest or Van Patten. We can even go over to fairways at Half Moon, too. Keith, you got one of the most unorganized shows that ends up flowing well more often than not. You know what? I tried very hard. In the beginning, I wanted this to be a stream of consciousness. I think that's a backhanded compliment or a compliment. I don't know, but I'll say thank you. I found a few months back, I just decided I'll throw some topics out there, and I wanted you guys to have the run of this show, and we would play off of those comments. And I think it's gone really well. There's some days when the comments stop, if I'm not ready, whatever. Trubisky's head was messed up after the quarterback, the Steelers had died, and quarterback coach, the Steelers, quarterback the Steelers had died in quarterback, and that quarterback was leaving Trubisky's house when that accident happened. I don't remember that story. I don't doubt it at all, Ralph, but listen, he had some potential. I liked the kid when he was at North Carolina, and he played some good football at different times in Chicago. Vikings 5-win team today, according to Danny Fuller. You're not going to have much time to respond to that, Rick. How about the Vikings and Texan connection continues out of CA? Linda's watching the show. Linda McGrath and Mac McGrath watching on Roku. As I said, Northeast Streaming Sports Roku channel. Get in there and get it downloaded on your Roku app, guys. You get to see my giant head on the big screen. What could be better than that? Along with the rest of the great content, pretty much all day and night on Northeast Streaming Sports Roku. So please check that out. As I thought, Kenny likes golf, but not the pros. When they get in bed with the murderers that live, you and I are on the same page with the whole live thing. Sam was the greatest Native American. Sam Bradford was Native American, wasn't he? Since Jim Brown. The quarterback the Steelers had that died. Oh, Dwayne Haskins. I got you. I did not know he was leaving Trubisky's house. That's sad. It was a sad story. And there was some bad stuff said about him. And Alex Smith, Jeff Garcia. talking about the 49ers. Scott Colby comes in right at the end of the show. Good to see you. I think UConn is best of. By the way, Scott, real quick, we only got 5 minutes. I've been commenting on the rumor about the number 3 pick to the Vikings for Jefferson. I don't want to see it because if I need a wide receiver, I'm just taking Marvin Harrison at 3rd. He'll be cost me less because I've got 1 year left on Jefferson's contract. I think it's a stupid move. UConn's by far the best team in college hoops, and it's not even close. I'm going to give you that, but I'm also going to tell you they're not going to win the tournament because it's so hard to go back-to-back. They're going to have an off day. They're playing great. Played great against Marquette yesterday. Marquette down. Marquette was hurt. Kolek plays healthy. I think you see a different game there, but I will not argue the fact, and I know Rick likes UConn. We had a lot of interest there last year because we had a local kid, Andre Jackson from Amsterdam, New York, playing on that team. Put a large amount on UConn to win it all. Nice. See, I'm going to look for a value bet. I need some place where I can, put 100 down and win a couple grand. So I'll be looking for that value bet. We'd have winning attorneys today. I'm pulling for big for Temple today. Temple would be another huge upset. We've already got Wagner, NC State, and Temple today would be 3 teams that won conference tournaments and are under 500 for the year. I'd like to see Temple. Temple's playing UAB today. I think UAB beats them. Let me look at the other games real quick. What I got? 4 minutes. I do want to catch my guests before they leave, so I got to get out of here. Championships, I like Yale in the Ivy League. I like Florida to beat Auburn today. VC over Duquesne. And UAB over Temple. And Illinois will beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten. Votto's debut today. That'll be interesting. Let us know how that goes, Chris. No, he's not going to make the team playing today. The season starts in a week. And change, feel good story of the spring in Canada. Well, I'm sure. Look at Joe. Votto's a really good guy. He's a guy who does get it. There's so many bad acts in sports. Joey Votto's not. He's a good guy. And it would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen. It'd be nice to see him come back and be productive again. Everyone tune in tonight. There you go. Little promo for Scott. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. on Let's Talk Sports Network for an NCAA tourney special with Alan Perales and yourself. Possibly others will react to the bracket. So tune in. Scott has some great betting shows, so check him out. Drew, have a great week yourself. Good to see you yesterday. I agree with you on Jefferson as a 1-year rental. Thank you, Scott. I didn't want to make sure it wasn't crazy. UConn men lose in the Sweet 16. Good call, Danny. I think that's possible. Be safe. Enjoy the Creekside. I hope to do that. And happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. So, guys, we're going to get out of here. Say goodbye. Oh, whoa. Say goodbye to you guys. Keith Engle here. Been a great hour, 2 hours again. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for contributing, all of you. And enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Be safe out there. And I'll catch you on the rebound. See you next week. All the show. Keith Engle, TGI Sports Talk. See you later. Bye-bye.